In this Camtasia tutorial, I'd like us to talk about video dimensions, editing dimensions, and the production settings that you need to use when you're working with video. Hi, my name is David, and if this is your first time checking out my Camtasia tutorials, kindly consider subscribing if you get value from the content that you'll watch. As I've mentioned, I want us to talk about dimensions because dimensions influence the editing and the production settings. And for starters, I have some few sample files here. I have a T-Rec file, which is a Camtasia recording file, and I have another video file. So I'll just drag this into the media bin, just drag and drop there. And once I do that, they're going to start syncing and doing their thing. But this is where the whole process of editing videos inside Camtasia begins. It begins from the media bin. The T-Rec is a screen recording, and this is just a normal video MP4. So what happens is that you need to understand that these videos have different dimensions. For example, if I hover over this video, you'll see dimensions 1920 by 1080, and the screen recording has a different dimension. So if I hover over it, you'll see like nothing has happened. If I just right click on it and check on details, you'll notice that it is recorded in dimensions of 1364 by 732. So these two files have different dimensions. Now, why does this matter to you and me as a Camtasia user? It matters because you need to know that the dimensions you're targeting to use as your editing dimensions here on the timeline will be the dimensions you're targeting to use for the export. Normally, if you work with a video that is 1920 by 1080, that means that you'll have to upscale this video that is 1328, if I'm not wrong, 1364 by 732 to match what you have as your original file. Upscaling this particular smaller file or smaller file in terms of dimensions to a bigger file size will deal some quality loss in that particular file. But downgrading a video of 1920 to this lower dimension file size doesn't really interfere or affect the quality that much. So for this video, what I would do if I was doing the edits, I'd probably use the dimensions for this screen recording as my dimensions for the editing and the production. So let's say right click and add to timeline at playhead, and you'll get the dimensions. It's going to fit automatically. Now, number one, Camtasia changed this. You could see the dimensions from this section here, but they changed this. So you have to right click inside this particular section, check the project settings, and you'll notice that it's 1364 by 732. Now, at least we know the dimensions we are dealing with, and these are the custom dimensions. So you can say that's okay. If you wanted to change, you can also use the presets they have available for Instagram, Facebook, and you can notice what is happening in the background. If you use, let's say, the HD option, you'll notice that our screen recording is going to be smaller than the canvas that we have. But since we don't want to change that, we'll just leave it as is. And you can also use you can also adjust the settings, that is the width and the height from this section. You can also change the color of the canvas behind this particular video to whatever color that you may want. Let's say we're satisfied with that, and also the frame rate, and let's say we're satisfied with this. Just click on apply. Now we have our video here. Our video is in 1920 by 1080, but we've already determined that we'll use 1364 by 762. So we'll just let's say we want it to come in right here. Right click, add to timeline at playhead. It's going to fit in here. But you'll notice that it doesn't fit accurately because this video is trying to fit in a canvas where it's not designed to fit. So you'll either have to hold shift and move this to the right, hold shift and move this to the left. It's going to fit. It may start looking strange, like my face getting a little bit fatter if you're dealing with different kinds of dimensions. And that is why I said it's better you deal with the dimension of the smallest video than the bigger video file size. Now, since this video file has a green screen, and the reason why I did this is just I just wanted a talking head without the background. So you can always remove the visual effects, that's the green screen. I can just come in here and drop in the remove color effect. Just drop it to this video and then just scroll down slightly, and from the color picker just pick this out. It takes away that particular background. So we work with now the crop. I just want to take out all this. Let's crop this out, and then let's crop this out slightly to almost the section of the circle. And then let's say I wanted the talking head to be at the corner, so I'll just hold one end and just move this to the corner somewhere, let's say like there. I can still make this a little bit smaller. I just adjust it to that section. So the dimensions we are working with really influence, that is the video dimensions or the project dimensions, from the screen recordings to the extra videos and extra elements. Let's say you had graphics, will influence what dimensions you will edit with, and finally they will influence our production settings. Therefore, if we've already completed all the edits we were making to this particular video, then we'll need to know that when we go to the share button, our export settings for us to get the best quality of this particular video need to be the dimensions that we used for the editing. If you say you use the presets available, let's say MP4 only up to 1080p, if you go with that, this may change, but I always like to keep it custom production settings. Just go to next, and then we go for MP4 and then click on next. And then for the size, I always ensure that this matches what we used for the edit. So if a client gives you work, always ensure that you start from the media bin and get to know from them what kind of quality or dimensions of the video are they targeting. They may give you a very small video size in terms of dimensions, like 640 by 360, and want you to produce a 1920 by 1080. That is really going to be a video of poor quality. So you can always guide them on what they need to give you as the media files for you to use. So this is just pretty straightforward. These are the editing dimensions, the video settings. For this one, I just work with the frame rate that we had, and then ensure that the slider is at 79%. That gives me a good quality, but if you want higher quality, you can crank it up to 100%. The audio, I also leave it as 128 kbps and click on next. And if I'm satisfied, just fill in the name and click on finish. Now basically what we were doing here in this video is just talking about video dimensions inside Camtasia. What dimensions and how do they affect the editing and the production, so that if you have a client, you'll know what to tell them the kind of videos they're producing. Let's say it's HD videos for YouTube, 1920 by 1080, 1280 by 720. Then they need to give you files that almost match or correspond to those particular dimensions to avoid stretching and blurring out of content that would have been required to be visualized in the video. That's it from me, and I hope that you've learned something from this easy to follow Camtasia tutorial on video dimensions, editing dimensions, and production settings. Thanks for watching, and if you've gotten any value from this video, kindly consider subscribing. I'll see you on the next tutorial. Thanks for watching.